Hello everyone and welcome back to another sketchbook tour. This is Alrav from Quebec, Canada, the author and creator of Alcatraz the Protector / Alcatraz the Protector. And for today's particular topic, as always, all I'm going to do here is showcase my practice material of my drawing in a no editing style fashion while talking about all sort of random stuff along the way. So for today's particular subject, before I begin, I'm going to ask my viewers one question. Is superhero fatigue a real thing? Let me know what you think about it in the commentary section below. If not, I'll talk about it. From my personal experience, the short and sweet answer is that I think it's more or less of a myth. If I were to quote L'art de la BD by Duck, which is for those of you who haven't seen it or my videos about this one, this particular book was my storytelling bible for all comic book related stuff, which I used to create my first issue of Alcatraz the Protector / Alcatraz le Protector. So yeah, I used this particular book, but there is a quote in there that I do remember that I'm going to do a loose translation, is that the mark of a good comic book author is being able to take an old subject, even if it has been done many times before, and being able to renew it in a fresh and original way. So, and I think this is true for the superhero genre as a whole, because even though we can say that we're tired of it, there's always someone that shows up and then do something brand new with the genre, and all of a sudden we forget about the fatigue. So I think this can be demystified very easily in that regard. The one thing, however, that is indeed a fatigue, in my opinion, would be more of a general franchise and IP fatigue. And this one is a bit more complex to explain, but if I were, for instance, to apply it to the movies and stuff, I'm not an expert in cinema, but from a scientific standpoint, most movie series in general, they reach their peak within the span of the first 3-4 movies, before the IP and the franchise itself gradually fell off a cliff. So there is an expression to describe this phenomenon. It is called jumping the shark, and this can happen in many different ways for other type of medium, but in the terms of movies, it is safe to say that most movie series tend to jump the shark after the first 3-4 films. And there are many examples of that. In some series, it is the first one that is the best, and all the other films after that, they fail to live up to the original. So Dirty Harry and RoboCop are examples of that. In some instances, it's the sequels that becomes the best one, such as Terminator 2, Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, and so on and forth. And in some instances, it can be the third film of a series that's the best one, such as, let's say, Indiana Jones, or maybe Godfather. After that, the fourth film, it rarely happens at this point. This is the point where there is a fatigue that can be felt, and after that happens, this is when most IP will then jump ship or try to reboot itself. So in the context of superhero films or films based on comic book properties, in the last decade or so, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as the MCU, became the highest grossing film franchise of all time. And it is an example of a franchise that has jumped the shark as we speak, simply because the reason they were able to get away with so many different films, in other series such as Star Wars and Harry Potter, there are exceptions, Star Wars in particular, it's two different trilogies that are separate from one another, so they still work within the span of 3 films. In the case of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the reason they had a whole decade's worth of film in there is because the Avengers themselves, they became a trilogy of sort. Infinity War and Endgame, they were supposed to be simply called Infinity War Part 1 and 2, but they sort of changed the title to make it feel like there are 2 distinct films, and even then, they do share similarities with characters and plot elements such as the Infinity Gauntlet and the stones that are recycled between the 2 films, which is exactly why they can be seen as one film split into 2 parts. But between the Avengers film, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, they are the most recurring and enduring trilogy of the Avengers themselves, and they each have their own trilogy of films that take place in between the Avengers film. So that's what makes the series as a whole, or at least the Infinity Saga, feel cohesive. The jump the shark moment that took place with the IP came after with the beginning of Phase 4 and Phase 5, which is when they should have called it quit normally, since Endgame was the conclusion. But my only guess is that because they had a bunch of actors and actresses who were still under contract. Marvel do these long 5-9 pictures film contract and stuff. They still had plenty of deals that were still ongoing at the time, which is why they decided to make more films after that. So in this instance, it is a classic case of when they should have just stopped a while ago, but because of the contracts going on, they had to just keep on going, which is exactly why the MCU sort of jumped the shark. And this can be felt overall in terms of the quality of the films. The only particular exception that could be think about would be, let's say, the Spider-Man films, because these were a joint co-production between Sony and Disney, which to its degree was probably for the best, because it does make it a slightly higher quality than most of the films from both respective studios, if I were honest. But even then, it's these Spider-Man films, unfortunately, they're still post One More Days 2. If I were honest on that, I haven't been gone to the theaters to watch any of the Spider-Man films ever since Spider-Man 3. That was the last one that was made before the dreaded One More Day event that took place in the comics, and that became my jumping off point for the character and the IP as a whole. So it is safe to say that there is a new Spider-Man film coming out this summer, and much like the other ones, I will be skipping this one as well. So if you get the chance to watch it in theater, let me know what you think about it. If not, I'll be staying away from it. With that being said, this is basically what a jumping the shark moment is as a term. You can apply it to many different things as well. So let me know if there's a particular franchise or IP you would like me to address in one of these sketchbook tours. If not, I'll be making these things from time to time, maybe once per month at best. So as always, look forward to all my Alcatraz the Protector / Alcatraz le Protector stuff on my Substack. The links are available in the description below or on my channel's page, and as always, the first issue is available for free, and the second issue is coming out in the months to come, as well as the blog comics that is being updated on a daily basis with brand new story content. That being said, thanks for watching, and we'll see one another very soon. Enjoy the reading.